Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. We have something fascinating to discuss with you. Going to talk a lot about the state of the franchise, looking ahead to Philadelphia, and a lot more. But a couple things we want to talk about. First of all, expect Kenny Pickett to be the starter. Expect Aiden O'Connell to be the backup this weekend. Expect Obviously, anything can change, but that's expectation. Next, though, I got a text today. It was actually late last night, but recently Joe Burrow, the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think is an elite quarterback. I think the top three are Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, and I think Patrick Mahomes is one. I think you could mix up Allen and Stafford based on opinion. I prefer Stafford, but I mean it's apples to apples. They're all good. But Joe Burrow talked about the game has to be enjoyable, and I'm not quoting, but I'm paraphrasing. It's got to be something that he enjoys for him to continue playing. Now, remember, this is his sixth year in the league. He came in 2020 with Cincinnati, and if you look at the beating he has taken, it's very similar to what Andrew Luck went through in Indianapolis. And I got this last night, and then I also had a person tell me that Schefter talked about this morning. I didn't see it, but I want to give him credit if he did. If he didn't, then I'm giving him credit. Doesn't matter. I'd rather give somebody credit that they don't deserve than for someone to think I'm cheating them out of it. Um, but this person last night said, if you're the Raiders, this was an NFL official. If you're the Raiders and you're sitting there with one, two, third pick, one of those picks, and you like Mendoza and you like Dante Moore and you like Ty Simpson, again, nobody thinks Ty Simpson is a top of the first round pick. They all think he's a first rounder that should go back. None of the people I've spoken to thinks Dante Moore is a top five pick. They think he should go back. They think they think he'd be picked in the first round, but they just don't think he's ready for that high of a pick. They think there's too much risk there. Again, it's not that they don't think he can be that. They just don't think he's worth the risk in that top 10. Mendoza, they think probably worth the risk, but even with him, he's not ready to start right away. And I had this person at the NFL say to me, if I'm the Raiders, based on Joe Burrow's comments, he said, soon as the season's over, I'm making a call to them. And I'm like, you want one of these guys? One of these picks? He goes, they're a franchise that traditionally doesn't like to spend money. There's a lot committed to Joe. This gets them an early pick to go pick a quarterback, excite their fan base. And he just told me, he goes, that's something. He said the Raiders need to be exploring that. And this person is a current NFL executive and said, if this was my team, I would absolutely explore this. You go get a proven quarterback who's a top five guy. Now, again, I don't think he's in the top three, but I think you could make an argument he's in the top five at that 4 or 5 spot. I think you could make a legitimate one. Absolutely top seven. But I have him in my top five. Irregardless, or regardless, not irregardless, regardless, the point of the matter is this is something that goes into the thought process or needs to go into the thought process of the Raiders. You get a Joe Burrow and you instantaneously now you go from questionable at quarterback to elite at quarterback. Elite. Absolutely elite. Then you have those high picks in the second round, third round, etc. You can go do whatever you need to do when acquiring offensive linemen or other positions. And then again, I'm not advocating for this. I think Pete Carroll should return and be in charge. if Tom Brady doesn't want to be in the building and run the team. I think that's your first thing if you're Mark. It needs to be, Tom, do you want to run the team? Yes. Okay, then you got to either be in the building every day or you don't. All right, I'm not coming in the building every day. All right, then you're not going to. Pete, go do this. But if you decide to move on from Pete because Mark decides to let that happen, you now raise the level of possibility when you've got that quarterback. A lot of people think Ben Johnson went with Chicago because of the Raider quarterback situation. I was told it had nothing to do with money, so there's a very good chance it did happen because of quarterback situation. I was told by people I respect who know Ben really well that he really wanted to stay in the NFC North. He wanted to stay up and compete with Detroit. And that had a lot to do with it as well. But he took less money to go there, so clearly he wanted to be there. And I know some believe quarterback had something to do with it. I'm sure it had something. But again, people I know tell me that wasn't the primary reason. But it instantly now, at the most important position, fixes the most important position on your team. Then all of a sudden your offseason changes, bam, that fast to add a Joe Burrow. That is a big deal. That is an enormous deal. And I'd love to hear from you guys, get your opinions and thoughts on it. I told this guy, I make that move right now. What do you think? And he said, I agree. He told me he thinks it benefits Cincinnati, not benefits them because they get rid of them, but benefits them because of their mentality is, they like to be on the cheap, not have so much out there. Fascinating to me. That allows Brady to make that big move. He tried to do it with Stafford, tried to do it with Ben Johnson. That allows Brady to make that big move, something to hang his hat on. That's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. And if I'm the Raiders, I'm totally thinking in that direction. Totally thinking in that direction. That would be enormous for this franchise to go. And then you're not taking a risk because over half of first-round rookie quarterbacks fail. Over half. And man, if you're picking as high as you're going to be, it's a risk no matter who you pick. I like Mendoza. I like Dante. I like Ty. I agree with the analysis I've heard, and I have not done as much evaluation as I need to, and I admit that. But at where I sit right now, I agree with everyone I've talked to. I think Mendoza's clearly number one. I really like a lot of the upside of Dante, but you can't pick top 5 on upside. These got to be can't miss guys. And the problem is there's enough teams that are quarterback light that they're willing to take the risks. And that's why you see so many teams back every single year in that top 10, top 15 range. It's why you see so many that live there. Raiders, because they take risks, because they don't draft well, because they don't stick with BPA, best player available. It's, we got to go get a quarterback. This will buy us a couple of years of freedom. No. If you look back at when the Raiders have had their best success drafting, Rock, when they've had their best success drafting, it's BPA. That is what the best teams do. And I'm telling you, I don't care who leads the team. I don't care how bad you need a quarterback. If you're sitting there with the second overall pick, first overall pick, and you don't have a guy there that you're like, this is an Andrew Luck, this is a Peyton Manning, you don't make that pick if you want to be a good franchise. But Hondo, what if somebody goes off and becomes a Hall of Famer? They might. But the chances are not that they will. And when you can't miss with those picks. The higher you pick in the first round, you can't miss with those. It's why you see the best teams always at the bottom because they draft well. Now, again, we may get into this process in the offseason and find out that there's a quarterback out there that we feel, when I say we, either me in my opinion or Tom in the franchise, that they feel is Peyton or Andrew Luck or Tom Brady may say, that's me. That guy's worth that pick. Okay, great. They're the ones making the pick. My opinion does not matter. But if you're not sold, that this guy where we're picking is that guy, he is a can't miss dude, you trade it away, or you and go get a Joe Burrow, or you trade it away and accumulate more picks when you're a team that has as many holes as the Raiders do. To me, that's a no-brainer. We're going to talk a little bit about Greg Olsen today, but Kenny Pickett has given the Raiders defense some really good looks at the Eagles offense this week. He's also given some really good thoughts. I'm playing up there. I'm really looking forward to jumping on the bird and flying over for the game. I Philadelphia is not a place I suggest people to go to that stadium. If you're a visiting fan, as a media guy, it doesn't matter. But if you're a visiting fan, not a place that I think people should go. But it's crazy and it's wild and it's an interesting place. It's fun. If you do go, just don't wear your team colors. I don't go there as a fan, but I enjoy the stadium. Beautiful stadium, beautiful part of the country. Got a lot of kinfolk. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of my kinfolk up there. I have an uncle and two aunts that live up there and a bunch of cousins. And looking forward to that. But giving them insight. Also, big chances some foul weather, maybe some snow. Man, I'd love to see some snow and remind me of home. But looking forward to that as well. But Kenny Pickett really brings a lot to the table. Now, I told you I was going to probably have an article Thursday, but since we're expecting Kenny, which would have been today, but since we're expecting Kenny to start, I'm going to wait till probably Tuesday for my article about a Kenny Pickett um, that I mentioned you was coming. We're going to probably wait till Tuesday on that. But I think it's very, very fascinating. And again, Caleb Rogers continues to, I watched the film again today, just continue to see some more things. I asked a friend of mine who would have reason to have watched the Raider film, so you can figure out why, just what he thought of Caleb's performance. And he was very impressed. And asked me specifically, this is a friend with another NFL team, why hasn't he been playing more? And I said, and now you know why we've asked that. Very, very good question. A couple other things I want to talk to you about real quick is the injury list for the Raiders, because I think there's something interesting here I want to go over with you. The Raiders, let's talk about this today. Jamal Adams was limited in practice. Alex Bachman was limited in practice today. Jeremy Chin with a back was limited today. Max Crosby limited today. Obviously, that's with a knee. Michael Mayer, obviously the ankle injury, had a full practice today. Jordan Meredith, dealing with a foot issue, full practice today. Colton Miller with an ankle was limited in practice. Geno Smith with his right shoulder did not practice. Ian Thomas with his calf limited. Dante Thornton with a concussion, had a full practice, and Raheem Mostert with a knee did not practice. So there you go. That's the update on the latest on the Raiders injury list. And again, I if you're a Raider fan, I think you are praying that you see as many young players. And but I'm really interested in watching Kenny Pickett. As you know, I talked to you about this earlier. I got a text from a successful NFL coach about that Kenny Pickett throw. And if you look, Kenny had 2 possessions that led to 10 points. So I think there's a lot here to watch with Kenny. But if you did not do what I said, go back and watch the play of Kenny's touchdown to Shed. Look at the quick release, the velocity on the football. That's something you've not seen uh, around here in a few years. So go back and watch that. All right. I got an email from somebody that I felt like I needed to address. And this comes to us from uh, Manuel, is his name. Manuel B. And he's in Garden City or Garden Grove, California. Manuel C. He said, Hondo, I was fascinated when I read your article about the most Al Davis thing that Mark Davis could do, hiring Gruden. I totally got your point. You weren't saying that's what you would do. You said that you thought they should keep Pete, but if they weren't going to, and Tom didn't want to be in the building, then go hire John. I got what you were saying, thought it was interesting. I also enjoyed hearing you on Fox Sports on Wednesday night. Thank you for listening. I'm just curious. I know that you do not advocate Pete going. What are some names that you've heard, however? Obviously, Gruden, you were making a point about doing a Raider thing. But what are some names that you're hearing should they move on from Pete? All right, I'll give you those names. Robert Saleh is the name I'm hearing. This would allow the Raiders to go pick their own offensive guy again. And there you go. But Robert Saleh is a great defensive mind that they were willing to pay a lot of money to, like they did Chip. Another name is the Giants' Mike Kafka. Hearing about him. The Colts' Jim Bob Cooter. Hearing some about him. The Bills' Joe Brady. Ravens' Todd Monken. He's very well respected. The Chiefs' Matt Nagy. I've heard some about that, but I don't see that happening. But I've heard some. The other one, Clint Kubiak, um, is one. Uh, and then the other is Mike LaFleur. Uh, he's the Rams. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I alluded to this the other day. Um, I think there is one current head coach that they could attempt to trade for. That would be a big deal. Not going to get into that right now because it doesn't matter. But should they relieve Pete, I will absolutely talk about that at another time. But I have heard that name from more than one person because Tom Brady would like to make a statement. I think Tom, I want to make this clear what I'm about to say. Tom is a winner, whether you like Tom or dislike Tom. And I don't dislike him. But whether you like Tom or dislike Tom, his career is marked by winning. And when you're a person who isn't, and you're a person, whether you think it's fair or unfair, who's getting a lot of criticism, and again, whether you think it's fair or unfair, he is. And he's being associated now with losing. You're going to want to make a big statement to fix it because nobody wants to be associated with that. And that's reality. And if you're, Nick Saban says it best, high achievers hate poor performers, And poor performers hate high achievers. And if you're a high achiever, and you can't say that Tom Brady isn't, even if you hate him, which if you don't know him, I don't know how you can hate him. But even if you say you hate him, the man is a high achiever and the man is a winner. He's a winner. So is Pete, by the way. And so they don't like it. You think Pete's excited of where this team sits? Of course not. I would tell you right now, 95% of the people in that building are unhappy. And whether they keep Pete or not, this franchise is going to want to make a statement about winning, and they should. So we're going to keep it there. I think the best thing that could happen is that the Raiders just come out, don't lose draft position. I don't expect them to win, although I don't think Philadelphia is anywhere close to the team they were this year. I think if the Patriots played Philadelphia right now, the Patriots would win, and the Raiders have beat the Patriots. Now, you may remember, you can go back and watch the video before the season. I told you I thought the Raiders would win that game, but would have lost if they played in November and December, because I knew that the Patriots were going to be better. However, that's why play your young ones. Play your young ones. And I am banging the bell. Keep Max and Colton out. I know they both want to play. I know it is vital to them that they play. They want to play. If I'm Mark Davis, I don't care. Love that they want to play. It's why they are both such good players. Colton, the top 5 left tackle. Max Crosby, the best defender in the league, and I think a top 5 player. If I said this last night on Fox Sports, if Max Crosby was on a decent franchise's team, he would be universally lauded as the best defender and one of the best players in all the National Football League. I mean, when they do the top 100, he would be in the top 5. But he's not on a decent franchise. He's on a losing franchise that constantly experiences dysfunction and disorder. And that's where you're headed right now. So this franchise, whether they keep Pete, don't keep Pete, whether Tom moves into the building full time or not, they're going to try to make a statement because nobody wants to be associated with the flop of the last several years. At some point, I'm going to get into a lot of this in the offseason. Going to get into it a lot. And there's going to be a lot of questions. Needs to be a lot of soul searching with this franchise. A lot of tough questions that they've got to ask themselves in the mirror. Interesting times ahead. But those, again, were some other names I had heard. Those are all coordinators. The only other defensive coordinator name I heard was Mike Shula, also of the Rams. But it was, at this point, I don't think they would consider, I think they would consider a Saleh, but I think they would like to go with offense. And though I think Shula will be a good coaching candidate for somebody, I would see him down the list on the Raiders if they got turned down some other places. I think he'll be a good coach. But this is no reflection of him. I just think the way the wish list is tiered, he would be at the bottom of that. But I can think of several franchises that if I was the owner, Mike Shula would get a call from me immediately. So there you go. That's the latest information that we have. We'll see you all again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.